Hey folks, so I'm here with Patrick from who is also known as Advanced Suite or Advanced Suite, as they say in America. And so just here to catch up on your progress since we last spoke, because we did an earlier case study interview after you did an earlier version of the Leap, and since then you've done the latest version of the Leap, and you've recently released an album, and I loved it so much that I was about to say bought the T-shirt, but I didn't. I just subscribed. So I'm now one of the subscribers. So I just wanted
I
to,
know.
yeah. So now I just wanted to catch up and see how it was going, and sort of see what's helped and what you've changed and where you're at. So thanks for doing this, Patrick.
Yeah.
And
Um,
so you recently released your next album. So what kind of schedule are you on right now in terms of finishing and releasing music?
I have another album already created. So I guess I'm two albums ahead
Mhm.
at the moment because I just released one.
Mhm.
But my releasing schedule, I guess, is changing since I'm growing more of a following. I guess I'm like trying to spread it out further now because
Yeah.
it was a lot more consistent and
Mhm.
really tight together. And
Mhm.
now I'm trying to do like every 4 months. I was doing every 3 months. I think I'm doing every 4 or 5 months now,
Cool.
something like
Getting
that.
even
Yeah.
more ahead because presumably the pace of making music. I mean, is that still? Are you still keeping that up at the same?
I am. Yeah. Somehow, some way, it's bizarre. I don't understand it with this new folder that you've created, or this new folder setup that you've created in the new Leap
Automatic music machine.
for the automatic music machine, right? I'm I some stuff just lands and done every once in a while, and I don't even realize it, and I'll go and check my done folder, and I'll be like, oh shit, there's done stuff in there right now, and
Yeah,
so
it's almost
it's
like
kind of
you accidentally make an album. So,
exactly. I don't even realize it.
yeah, exactly. So one of my masterminders, he is finished an album's worth of material, but he's already got another album's worth of material, and he's stressing out about, oh no, what do I put on this album? Oh,
Right.
too much stuff. And I'm like, hey, not a
It's
problem.
a
So-
good problem to have.
exactly, exactly. So yeah. What was so let's just talk about where you were at before you kind of implemented the automatic music machine and the magnet model, sort of for people who probably haven't seen the first time we spoke. So where were you at before anything?
Right.
Yeah.
I was about to give up on music. I guess that's where I was at, like I didn't feel like anybody was listening to it, but that was now in hindsight, looking back, that was entirely me not putting it out there for people to listen to it, and like once I learned, that my creative flow doesn't end, that there's not just this ending once I release this music, that I'll never be able to create that again. That feeling is gone completely. I was able to just start pounding out music.
Yeah, right. And so am I right in thinking that before you kind of had a scarcity mindset around your creativity, you felt
Yes.
it wasn't an endless supply of new, ever better ideas. It
Right.
was running out.
Right.
You were,
Yeah.
yeah, okay, um, yeah, and so then you did a very early version, I think, of the Leap, and then you started releasing music very regularly.
Right. Well, I immediately, once I started your program, that was pretty much when I started releasing stuff. Just I was holding on to a lot of music from 15 years of making music
Okay,
that
right.
I never really finished, and I started a bunch, and then I got in touch with you and started learning your program. And I think the mindset of the fear of letting people hear it and then getting the feedback of like, oh, it sucks or whatever they think, which really never happens. You know what I'm saying? Like nobody ever nobody ever contacts you and it's like, your music sucks. It's kind of, I've
Yeah,
never had that
I know.
happen.
They just ignore it, right?
Right, exactly. If they don't like it, they don't say anything to
Yeah,
you, you
yeah,
know?
yeah, exactly.
So yeah, I was able to move forward, I guess, with my releasing at that point. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. I
No,
know you
no, no,
wanted to
not at
say
all. I
something
think
there.
I'm the one that's doing the interrupting. So, 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 so you started releasing music on a set schedule. So what was the schedule initially?
At the beginning, I think I was just trying to release a track every month. That was like my goal, is just to release a track to somebody, to SoundCloud or just somewhere that people can go listen to it a month. And then once I got up to like 5 tracks or something like that that were released on SoundCloud, I felt like, okay, it's probably time to hold on to these tracks and create an album or something like that. I don't remember exactly the order of operations
Yeah.
that happened, but I know that I put a schedule or a commitment. I made a commitment to myself to release a track once a month. And I think it was when that became easy for me that I pulled all of them back towards me and then released an album later on.
Right. So it wasn't easy at first. It was
Right,
difficult to do that. Yeah.
right.
And so, but you kept on essentially practicing, finishing music and releasing more music, and it must have become easier to do that, almost like you were doing it in your sleep.
Well, yeah, it was the commitment that I made every day that, the minimum valuable, what was it? I think it was minimum valuable commitment that you
Yeah, that's
called it
right.
or something like
Minimum viable commitment, the smallest
that.
amount of time
Viable.
that you will do every day. Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
Right. So, and I told myself if I can at least play one note every day, and you were right. I ended up wanting to do more every time that I went through all the setup and everything like that. And before I knew it, I was making a track every week, and I was kind of blown away by the amount that I was making, but I was totally unsure about the quality because I was like, I didn't believe that I could make something quickly and it actually be good, I guess.
Oh, okay. So there was a belief there that if you make something, well, not if it's easy exactly, but if you make something fast, then it can't be good.
Right. And you told me to not listen to the stuff and for a while, and I think I didn't listen to it. I think at the first I didn't listen to it for 2 weeks, and
Hmm.
that just wasn't enough time for me, I guess, because I still remembered every single part of it. I remembered all of it for some reason. So I don't know what it was. And so I waited months. I think I waited like 2 months or something like that. And when I listened to him, I was blown away. I think there was 10 tracks that I had, and I was blown away by like 8 of them.
Great.
So there was something to what was going on here. You know what I'm saying? So I had to. That's when I dove in 100%. So like if you're looking at my albums here, I'm talking about the space between space,
Right.
and then
Let's have,
I
yeah, let me just, let me go, let me go to your Bandcamp. What I might actually do for a change is share the screen so people can actually see. So are you all of these albums that you're about to talk about on Bandcamp?
yeah.
Okay, so let's have a look here. So music, I don't even know. Here we go. All right.
Okay, perfect.
So
So down at the bottom right hand corner, you have the space between space.
Mhm.
So I'm working all this stuff out, and I get the confidence now that I can make a lot of stuff really quickly and then check it much later. I come to that epiphany, I guess, or that aha moment. And that's when I decide to make Glossary of Astronomy. And this is all done with one instrument. All the entire album is done with one synthesizer. And then I used like a drum machine and stuff like that.
What synthesizer was it? Out of interest, just because I'm.
What was it? It was the Viking from
Okay, yeah,
Viking 2 from Blamsoft.
yeah, okay,
So I used one synthesizer the whole time because the one of the missions of that week was limitations,
right, great.
and I stuck with it for an entire month. I gave myself a month to make the album because I was like, I'm just going to slam out as much as I can. And I ended up making like, I don't know, I want to say 18 tracks total.
Sorry, how many?
With
Just cut out there for a second. How many?
I made 18 tracks total
Okay.
with this synthesizer.
Mm.
And then picked, how many did I choose? I think I only chose 10. Yeah. 10 tracks from that. Yeah.
Cool.
But I would have released every single one of them if I thought they were, you know, quality enough. And it's funny too, because like I go back and listen to those tracks from time to time, and they're all really good still, in my opinion, you know? So it's like, I feel like I should have released all of them together. And it's funny, I won, this was a contest. If you go to Blamsoft's contest for the Viking 2, they have all the tracks that I made there, because
Right.
I submitted every single one of them to the contest.
Mm-hmm.
I figured, what could I lose, you know?
Yeah, right. Okay. So then you released that. So this was 2017. So, and at this point you were doing the Mission Make Music Live program, right?
I was doing the
The thing every week.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. And then this one, Beyond Closed Eyes, came out
The,
2018.
right. And this was, I think, after your,
Leap.
or maybe during, I made all these, so this is a big turning point right here. Let me get back to the right page.
Yeah.
So Beyond Closed Eyes and Sweet Dreams,
Yeah.
I was talking to you about how to get to a label and like what the best course of action would be. So I released Sweet Dreams on the label, and I sent him the tracks for Beyond Closed Eyes as well. I sent him all these tracks together because he just kept wanting to hear more and kept wanting to hear more. And he ended up releasing every single track that I sent him. So
Right. So these were on the label. What label was it?
Astropilot Music.
Okay. So these were released on another somebody else's label.
Yeah. Right. Yep.
Okay. And this was what you did at the time of when you first joined what it was called Project Pressfield, but basically what is now the Leap. Yeah.
Right. Exactly.
Okay. Cool. And at this point, so this went out on somebody else's label, and was that a? I mean, did that increase? I mean, did you notice a big difference between releasing yourself?
Yes.
Yeah.
I at first I was like petrified with the way things were going, because I wasn't getting any money, and he kept telling me that I've made no money, and I thought that it was like just a really bunk situation at first. But then I started seeing like a massive amount of followers flying into my Facebook page and flying into my SoundCloud page, and that had never happened before. So that had to have been because of me being on that label, because his following is like in the millions. I think it's in 20, or no, he's in the thousands at least. I think it's like 24,000 or something like that.
Right.
So
right. Yeah. So that made that kind of an impact. And
right. And then later on, he started paying me, which I had never even expected. I think you even told me before I released it not to expect anything like that, but I was still all like bummed out that I wasn't, you know?
Right. But people often think that that's going to be the solution to all of your problems. You know, it's like
right.
someone else to release it, and it's not that it's a bad thing to do. It's just part of the process. And yes, you do get a bump. You get more people because you'll use it. You know, it's almost like you're leveraging their audience.
Right. Exactly.
It still doesn't mean that you just go, pew, you know. I mean, occasionally that does happen, but that's 1 in a million. You know.
Right.
Okay. So what was it that made you decide to go back to releasing? So when was this? That was February 2018, and then this Drifting is June 2018. So what made you decide to go back to releasing it yourself?
Because this is, I think, right before I released Drifting, he had sent me a check for and like all the stats for how many SoundCloud plays I was getting, and a check for all the money I made on Bandcamp and stuff like that. And I realized how much of a cut he was taking, I guess, and how much I could have made, and I wanted more control over my music because he had the SoundCloud rights now, and he had like all the distribution rights. That was gone. All I could do was put it on my Bandcamp.
Yeah. Right.
So I was a little bummed out about the lack of control that I had on my own music, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, there's the lack of the control, but it's also when you're talking about music, which is a very low cost item, in the modern world, it's like when you've got somebody in the middle, it's like a sliver of a sliver. You know?
Right.
So that's the other thing. And again, for the promotional benefits, it can be worth releasing on bigger
It
labels.
really was. It really was. That was the main aspect. I almost think about doing it again because he keeps increasing his following,
Yeah, exactly.
So
But I mean, you could probably get a similar thing from doing like an EP or something.
right.
Yeah. So, but anyway, I don't know. But so then you did drifting, and like by this point, you're starting to get quite. I mean, obviously this is probably constantly updated, but you're starting to get quite a few supporters here, which is
Right.
yeah.
Yeah, and that one's not got as many supporters as my next one there. That next album is doing the best out of all my albums.
This one, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So taking music in the rooms that dreamt. I think this was the one that came out the last time we spoke. Is that right?
Right. This was right before the Leap 5.
Oh, right. So this is the one you released just before the Leap 5 in July 2019. So Patrick did the Leap program again because you can do it as many times as you want when after you join. So so you released this one. Did you see right before the Leap 5? Yeah.
I think it was right before the Leap 5, and then you suggested that I take the Leap 5 after talking with me
Yeah.
and reviewing me and stuff, or doing the review with you.
Yeah. Yeah. Great. And so then we've got these three, which came out in October 2019. October 2019, February 2020, and then the latest one. Oh no, hang on a minute. Is this? This is mixes, is it? Is this actually now?
Yeah, these are all the mixes that I have in if you go to Sweet Vibes Tribe, that's where you'll find like all my newest album is sitting there waiting for people there. You'd have to go to the benefits, I guess. Or yeah, there you go.
Yeah, right. Oh, there, yeah. Okay, cool. So essentially, you've been following everything. So you've been following the creative stuff, so making absolutely loads of music, releasing the stuff that you want to release, really focusing on releasing it yourself consistently, but also leveraging other people's audio, another person's bigger audience in order to kind of give yourself a boost. And obviously you've got stuff for sale here, so people can subscribe to your Sweet Vibes Tribe thing, which is a yearly subscription, of which I'm a member, a very happy member. And then also you're obviously selling the downloads, and you don't have to share numbers or anything like that, but I'm just interested to know, because I'm sure people are interested to know, what's the kind of, are you actually making an income from this? Because you're not selling anything other than music, really. You have got a t-shirt in there, but aside from that, you're not really selling anything other than music. So
Right.
again, you don't say whatever you feel comfortable with. Don't have to give numbers exactly, but just the kind of trajectory of where it's going, given that you've been doing this since 2015.
$200 a month.
Okay,
Do we get it?
So in case anybody is wondering, because the editor's probably going to wonder what on earth we're going to do with this bit, is that every time Patrick said the actual amount, the sound cut out. So it was very strange. But at the moment, given what you've been doing here, you're making around $200 a month, which is by no means going to feed your family or, keep you, it's not like you can give up your two jobs that you're doing, for instance,
Right.
but it is, you are making money from music. And also, how did that, what's I think is really important for you people to understand also, because you were talking before we started recording about how that money, how it's grown, I mean, the kind of shape how
Right.
it,
Uh, so like 3 months ago,
how many months
I
ago?
was only like 3 months
Yeah,
ago, I was making like half that. So it would have been like $100 a month that I was making like 3 months ago.
yeah,
And then like 6 months ago to that, it was like $50 a month. So it's like, it seems to be like climbing really fast now. But
right.
prior to that, I was making very little
So
money
it's
for a
just,
long time.
yeah, so it looked like you weren't getting anywhere. It was just kind of bumping along the
Right.
bottom. But now it seems to be, is it, I mean, we haven't got that much data, so I don't want to overstate it, but it's kind of similar to a kind of exponential curve in that it seems to be doubling
Right.
in half the amount of time each time.
Well, right. And my numbers are never dropping below a certain point now.
Right.
They're always staying above a certain point, whereas before it would drop down to zero sometimes if no listens for a long
Yeah,
time.
right. Right.
So I'm always getting listens now.
Yeah, I mean, I think this is one of the things that people don't understand, and it's very challenging just on a psychological level to break through, because like even exponential growth, and I'm not saying this is exponential growth because we don't have the data, but even exponential growth looks like nothing for ages. Yeah, because
Right,
it's like zero to one could take you a year. Yeah, and then one to
right,
two
right,
take you 6 months, and then two to four. Do you know what I mean? And then it just goes whoop like that. Our brains
right,
don't
right,
process exponential growth, so I think the majority of people may well have gone through a few months of what you're talking about and given up and never got to the bit where it starts doubling on itself. I mean, let's see whether it is actually, anything like exponential growth in the future. We can't say that, but certainly it's doubled in the last 3 months.
right.
Yeah, yeah,
Recently, after so many years of releasing my music and trying every which direction I could think of and
yeah.
trying all the things you teach me and it's just everything that I go through and stuff and getting like hardly any results. It felt like I was getting very little for a long time.
Mhm.
It would be these little spurts of like, oh, there is something to this, and then it would all dry up
Yeah.
like immediately, and I'm like, oh, come on, what happened?
Yeah, yeah, exactly. But that's what it feels like. I mean, that's what it is like, because with music, where you're selling music and it's a very low cost item, and you're talking about a scale, it just takes a while to get going. You can't. I mean, I'm
Right,
sure there are things that can be improved and things that you can do to make it go faster, but you know, at the moment, I mean, from what you're saying, it seems like it's kind of an organic growth, a sort of natural uh, uh,
right.
growth. So
I th- it's the I think a lot of it has to do with the building of the relationships with people, whereas before I was always just like hoping that people would listen. But now I'm actually talking with people and telling people about my music and stuff,
yeah, yeah,
and they want to hear it.
yeah, exactly. They want, you're building trust with them
Right,
at the time, and they're expecting the music from you, and so when they get it, they're very thankful, and they tell their friends
right.
about it, and etc.
Sure.
So obviously, right now we're all in a lockdown situation, and we're in the middle of a pandemic. And as you told me before we started recording, you are doing two jobs. You actually have two jobs, which are described as being essential. So you've actually got more work now than you've ever had. Just interested to know how, and also added on top of that is the psychological pressure and the anxiety and all of those kinds of things. So I'm interested to know is how, the automatic music machine, and the kinds of things that you've learned in the Leap. How have they helped you keep your creativity going? I mean, I know you're two albums ahead anyway. But how are you managing to navigate this very difficult time where there's very little time for you to actually work on music and make progress?
Right. Okay. So it's the minimum valuable commitment again, where I'm still committing to myself every day to at least open up the DAW and play one note. And that's a pretty easy thing for me to do, even though I'm doing quite a bit more than that every day. I'm constantly, I'm pushing as much as I can every day without interfering with my life. Because
Yeah.
I still want to hang out with my family. I still have to go to work. I still have to clean these office buildings at night and stuff. And yeah, it's just, there's a lot going on.
Yeah.
But it's like you said, it's an escape in a lot of ways. If I could, I would drown myself inside my computer all day long so that I don't have to worry about what's going on out there.
Yes.
But yeah, I think that since I'm able to commit to it every day, I find a huge relief in the consistency that I find from that, because and I think you also said that we'll find control in doing the things that we want to do,
Yeah.
and the things we enjoy. And I find a lot of control in being able to make music when I have the time to make music on every day. I still, every chance I get.
Fantastic. I mean, I think there's a lot that we are being shown that we don't control at the moment out there,
Right.
and we need to really zero in on what we do control. And that's, one of the things is what we do in the studio. So, am I right in thinking you've got a family as well? So you've got two jobs, and have you got kids or?
I've got two kids. Yeah, two girls.
Oh, really? How old are they?
They are 9 and 12.
Okay, so family, full family life, two children. So they're at home.
Wife.
Are they are they being homeschooled at the moment too?
They are, yeah. I mean, well, they're. I guess they're kind of doing it themselves because my wife also, apparently, her job is essential as well. So we're still
Wow.
working normal schedule. So our
Wow.
kids have to just homeschool themselves now. I guess I don't know. It's a very confusing situation.
So you've got an enormous amount going on, but you're still making music through that, which is
Yeah.
inspiring. I think that's an inspiring way to end it. I mean, how much time on average are you able to invest in making music each day under the current circumstances? Which let's hope they don't
Uh,
last for very long.
I would be. I'm almost embarrassed to say how much time I'm able to fit into music with all this going on, but I'm probably doing somewhere around at least an hour a day, at
About an hour,
least.
about an hour a day. That's
Yeah.
absolutely amazing. And how, are you finding you're still making progress towards finishing more
Oh yeah.
music? Yeah.
Like I was saying before, with the new folder system, you know, I I'm kind of generous with what I'll put into done.
Yeah.
I'll kind of put something into done a little early just because I'm tired of working on it maybe, but
Yeah.
it's got all the sections and stuff, and maybe I'll like it differently later.
Yeah.
So I just toss stuff into done all the time without even paying attention. If I'm just tired of working on it, or if I feel like it's completed, if I you know what I've been doing actually, this is kind of fun. If I'm working on a track and I get all the way to the end of the track and I hear the ending of the track, like I hear it go to a fade out to nothing, I just close the track right then. If I've completed the track at that point. That's the end. you know so
Yeah.
that's my definition of done. You said to come up with a definition of done. Once I've made it all the way to the end, I've arranged, as soon
Mm.
as I hear it fade out to nothing, that's my cue. Boom, it's done. And I
Yeah.
drop it into done. And not all of them stay in done, obviously, but it's really fun to just keep going 1 hour a day at least. I guess that's what I'm doing right now. Sometimes I do more, sometimes I do less.
Mm.
But I don't know. I would say I think I do my listening sessions once a month, and I'll go in there and like there's like 5 or 6 tracks just sitting in there waiting for me. And
Right.
I never realized, I wasn't paying attention to him going in there, because some weeks are worse than others where I'm like, what is going on? Nothing's coming through. I don't see anything landing and done, you
Yeah,
know?
yeah. No, I mean, I think being a little bit more relaxed about what gets done and just keeping focusing on the machine and the system, and because just for people who don't know, done is a particular part of the machine. It's one of the columns, if you like, that we use, and we use it for a very specific purpose. Done doesn't mean that you release it. It just it's a certain thing. It's almost like you get it to done, and then that means we can decide what we're actually going to release and get to release. But I think one of the mistakes people do make with it is that they done is too high a bar. You can just put something into done and see, because it doesn't matter whether it doesn't always you don't just have to go from left to right. It doesn't always have to move forward. You can go back as many times as you want when you're
Right.
working on multiple tracks at the same time. I mean, have you
Well,
found?
see, and that was another,
Yeah, go on.
oh, go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, no, I was just going to say, have you found the working on multiple tracks at the same time? I mean, how has that, which is something different from probably the way most people do things, have you found that has helped? I mean, how has that, changed things?
That's a game changer, to be honest with you. In the past, I would feel like once I've started a track, I've got to finish it, or else that's a failure, I guess, of a track. So I would try to finish every single track, and as Claude Van Stroke
Yeah,
said, beat it into submission.
exactly.
I would just sit there and try to beat them tracks into submission. Um, and so once I was able to start working on multiple tracks, once you gave me the okay to do that, I didn't think it was okay, I guess, to do that.
Yeah,
I kind of went bonkers with it and just started working on every track that I wanted to work on. And if I didn't like working on it, it would go right into the sketchbook, and I'd
yeah,
start working on a new track that I was actually into at that moment.
yeah.
So every once in a while now I'll go through my sketchbook and I'll find a track that I had already worked on. And I'm like, oh my God, this track's almost done and it's really good. And I'll just finish the last 2 minutes of it and I'll be out of here with it.
Yeah, but that's exactly what I'm finding too. You just lose the vibe on it or something. I mean, yeah, or you just decide that you don't want to work on it now. You move it into the sketchbook, and then because this is what happens when you use the machine for more, a couple of years or something, or a bit longer, and then you start to find these nuggets of gold that you're like, oh,
Right.
well, this is nearly done. Oh, all right, so and then it just increases the velocity
Right.
of finishing stuff again. So it's like not only the first time through that you use the machine, but multiple. It's just building on itself, and this just
Right.
grows and grows and grows. So
You know,
fantastic.
I had a track that I originally made when I first started making music. So back in 2007, that I just held on to for years and years and years and years. And I released it on this new album because I never found a place for it. But since I had the machine going and I was able to keep hearing that track pop up every time that I kind of was like searching for something, I'd be like, oh yeah, I remember that. And I'd skip over it.
Yeah,
And then this one time I heard it and I was like, oh my God, that stuff right there fits right here. That's
yeah,
what that track was for. It wasn't for, 7 years ago, PJ. It was for
yeah,
2020,
yeah.
PJ.
Yeah, no, exactly, and that's the thing. I mean, that is the thing. My kind of frame that I put around like bad ideas or things that aren't. People say, "Oh no, that's not a good idea," or "I'm not into that," or whatever. I just say that a
Right.
bad idea is just an idea you don't know what to do with yet.
Exactly.
It's a
Yep.
different way of kind of looking at it, it's like when you have a kind of system like the machine where you can easily find things, and you've got it all there for you. It makes this process so much easier because you can actually
Oh yeah.
see what the things are, and you're like, I know what this needs. That one. It's exactly the same thing happened to me for the first track of my album, The Begin. That was a, oh, I don't know what to do. I was having a nightmare with the first track, and then I remembered this other one, and then boom, it was done in like 15 minutes.
Right.
But it needed the place for it. Yeah,
Exactly.
that in
Yeah.
order for me to know what to do with it, it needed a kind of purpose, if you like. And now I knew it was the first track of this album. I knew what to do.
Right.
So yeah, fantastic. All right, well, thank you so much, PJ. It's fantastic to see you like building your income just on music. You know, you sold a
Right.
like, a handful of t-shirts, but essentially just on music. You just started. Yeah,
Two t-shirts.
there you
Two
go.
t-shirts.
Yeah, so sold a couple of t-shirts, and you've given quite a few away. It sounds like because you're very
I've
generous.
given at least 30 away. Yeah,
Yeah, right. So yeah,
yeah.
but just on music, you are starting to see that grow, and you know I'm sure we will have another conversation at some point in the future, where
Yeah.
not in too distant future, where this will be an entirely different kettle of fish. So, congratulations for staying the course and keeping up with it, and yeah, we will speak again soon.